Not everyone is meant to make a difference. But for me, the choice to live an ordinary life is no longer an option.
Saved my life twice, and I've never even seen his face. You are amazing.
What's shaking their neighborhood listeners? Your boy Rob Lee is here with a brand new episode of Let's Watch It Again. I'm on here with multiple time co-host, friend of the network, noted photographer, noted black man. Please welcome Isaiah Winters. Welcome to the pod, man.
Thank you for having me back, man. I mean, I say this every time, but I just love doing these. And, you know, I'm a fellow comic book lover and movie lover and Spider-Man. Oh my gosh. I feel honored that I am the one that gets to do this breakdown with you, man. This movie means so much, but we'll get into that. Yeah. We'll get into some of that.
And so where were you at when this movie came out? It's the 20th anniversary. We're recording this in May. I'm going to get this out before the end of May. So it'd be almost 20 years to the day. Right. So what were you doing? Where were you doing? Did you see this movie in theaters? And those are kind of initial thoughts.
I saw this movie in theaters. It was, okay, so growing up, I had a neighbor just at the end of the block. He had just moved in, and his parents were this huge birthday party. He was loaded. Like, he was definitely the new rich kid in the neighborhood, right? So they're like, oh, we're going to do a whole Spider-Man themed birthday party for you guys. Got us all tickets to go. I'm talking like 15 little, like, 10 to 12-year-olds, action figures, snacks, everything. And so I saw this movie. I'll never forget, like, where we kind of sat. We took up like a whole row in a movie theater with like 12 to 15 little boys with me, kind of just geeking out and losing our minds over it. And I swear, I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Like, bro, I had like back in the day where you tried to get like a screensaver or a wallpaper for your computer and you're on like dial up. So I was like logging on the AOL online and then got like the first promo wallpapers that Sony was dropping, and like everything in my life was just Spider-Man branded. It came out at the perfect time for me, man. What about you though? What about you?
I mean, so here's the thing. I was about 17 when this came out. So yeah, I was in that spot where I'm like, all right, happy that this happened. I didn't see any of I think I saw the third one in theaters, which says a lot about me. And I saw it at the Senator, to be exact.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first two I didn't see in theaters, but I was really excited about it because I enjoyed the cartoon, and to a lesser extent, my dad's big into cartoons, and even now my girl will always talk about, Spider-Man is an amazing friend. So it's always Spider-Man around. So seeing something, and even for my dad, I remember him saying, y'all gotta watch these like 70s movies of like Spider-Man, walking, not good. And so having this done the way that it was done and it be really good, it sticks out. It doesn't, well, we'll talk about that, but it sticks out as one of those really early nascent stages of comic book movies. And if movies at its most popular as far as Marvel and Marvel adjacent, you had, we need to put respect on this name. You had in 98, you had Blade, 2000, you had X-Men, and in 2002, you had Spider-Man. So you had these really two of the three really well-known properties like out there in a big bad way. So I was definitely signed up for season tickets there.
It is crazy. I mean, I love that people are starting to think about this a little bit now, and that conversation's coming in that like Blade was the true start to the MCU, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of having him come back full circle with Mahershala Ali, and then, you know, we just had Sam Raimi come back for the newest Doctor Strange. There's a lot of like things that are coming full circle right now, I feel like, for sure.
So for those who are undipped, I want to start off with this summary. We get some casting stuff and some release
Yeah.
date notes like that.
Toby.
All right. So Spider-Man summary centers on student Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire, who, after being bitten by a genetically altered spider, gains superhuman strength and spider-like ability to cling to any surface. He vows to use his abilities to fight crime, coming to understand the words of his beloved Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man.
Iconic. That's it.
I mean,
That's the story in a nutshell.
He wanted to wrestle first, and I don't think they were doing like HGH testing or human growth hormone or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So the cast, Tobey Maguire, obviously Spider-Man, Kirsten Dunst, Mary Jane Watson, Willem Dafoe, which, again, can we put respect on his last name being Dafoe? He's always has to be a villain.
Dafoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe, I mean, oh my God. And we'll get to the newer ones, but he just, this guy he's a class act. He's so good. He's so good at playing creepy and just like sinister, and that smile on his face, man. I'm like, I would want to give him a hug, but at the same time, I'd be like, I don't know if I want Willem Dafoe to like smile at me, like especially at night or something, you know?
I don't want his mouth too close to me.
It's scary. It's like a little scary.
It's like a Junji Ito thing where it's like, oh, and then suddenly his jaw's unhinged and then I died.
Right. Like it doesn't stop. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It's like that model chick. I don't know if you watched it. With that Junji Ito thing with the model, it's not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now defunct, I guess, James Franco as Harry Osborn.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll see. So the release date, May 3rd, 2002. So just a solid 20 years ago.
Yes.
The box office. No, actually, let's talk about the budget first.
Okay.
So the budget is 139 milli. That's up.
Whoa.
That's up there.
For that time, I mean, I remember when Spider-Man 3 came out and they were like, this is the biggest budget of all time. So I'm assuming this was one of the largest, if not the largest for the time. Because I think Spider-Man 3 was something like 150. So this is not too far. I didn't think this movie cost that much money.
Well, yeah.
I guess the effects. The effects. Huh.
I want to take a look at something like what would that be worth now?
Right.
Because that's worth knowing. Let's see. What is that going to be?
What's our equivalent?
So that would be a 223. That would be the cost of the most recent one.
So that costs basically as much or more than the new Doctor Strange. And yeah, as much as the new Spider-Man that just came out. Wow.
And the box office was 25 million.
And that's before we got to the billion club. So like that's huge. That's huge.
And if we put that inflation on there for today's dollars, that would be 1.3 billion.
Okay.
So that's kind of beginning of this massive blockbuster. And then the wild thing is this movie is the appetizer for the second one, which did the crazy numbers.
Spider-Man 2. Wow.
Yep.
What a movie. So
as you mentioned, Sam Raimi, the director. So I'm going to hit you with some numbers real quick.
Okay.
So IMDb, source for some people, 7.4 out of 10. A little low, right?
For Spider-Man 1. Okay.
Feels a little low, doesn't it?
It does. But I'm sure we'll get into this rewatching. Some things hold up a little bit better than others. And I don't know if that score going down is maybe recent, tied to some of the things that have kind of been commented about with this movie and some of the jokes and things like that. But that's a little low. I would expect at least like a 7.6, 7.8. Maybe I'm being nitpicky, but
you got to judge it against contemporary sites, right? So
right.
Rotten Tomatoes, which is famous for doing that downvoting, 90%. Rotten Tomatoes.
90% on Rotten Tomatoes
Uh-huh.
and 7%.
And
Oh,
lastly, Google users, because that's the thing. That's usually just these are the fans, 82. So IMDb, get your S together.
right. I think the user one is probably the most accurate.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good spot for this film.
And I always try to
I
do
think.
whatever that number is. It's just like, across the board, it's somewhere in that 8. That's
Yeah,
about a good number because 7.4 a little low, 90 a little high, 8.2
little
sweet
higher.
spot.
Yeah. Wow. Google users, you guys did it. You did it again. You gave us an accurate reading on it.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Props.
So I want to throw out some trivia, if you will. I want to
We
know how
love
much of this
it.
you knew because
Okay.
for a movie that's been out there, been super popular, made a lot of money, and it's been around
Mhm.
for 20 years. It's been in the it's been memed. The great power, great responsibility thing has been used for bits for a long time at this point.
Forever.
So number one, and these is it's 10 things, but really it's a lot of subplots in here. So Willem Dafoe performed 90% of his own stunts.
No, he didn't.
That's
What?
That's what it says.
He would, though. That's what I'm talking about with this guy. Like, every time I learn a new fact, I'm like, who is this man? What is he?
You're gonna
How
like
did he
this.
do 90% of his stunts?
He's only
There's
in
a
the movie
lot of
like
stunts for him.
he's only in the movie like 18 minutes though.
Are you serious?
That's a thing I saw a little bit later. You're gonna like
Oh,
this, I think. This is actually really funny to me. Willem Dafoe wore prosthetic teeth for much of the film to play Norman Osborn, but his natural teeth could be seen when he is tapped into his Goblin persona. So his real teeth is when he's the
oh
Goblin.
my God. Wait, why did they do fake teeth on him? Now I'm thinking of like the boardroom scene where he's screaming and like when
Yo,
he's talking to Harry, like I'm dropping Harry off at school, so I gotta have my fake teeth in. Like,
yo.
what are we doing here? What are we doing?
That's great. The FX team,
Wow.
the special effects team, had to tone down the gore of the Spider-Man and Green Goblin finale, their final battle, to maintain that PG-13 rating, and
Ooh-wee.
that's kind of on brand for Sam Raimi. He likes
Sam
liquids.
He does, and I don't know how much. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but like he does that. He does that in his films, and with the newest, his return to Marvel with Doctor Strange. I've had a few friends kind of talk about, well, like it was, I felt this way, I felt that way, but I was surprised that it wasn't family friendly. Bro, when I saw that movie, there was an 8-month-old baby next to me in the theater. I was like, this baby's gonna be traumatized.
I mean, I heard things. I didn't really care about the spoilers because that's what people love to do. And
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. This is a little bit of a sidebar, but I'll put it this way. When defunct ex-deprecated football player Michael Sam ruined what happened in Star Wars and that whole thing, when it's like, oh yeah, I can't believe Han Solo died. I was like, yo,
Yeah.
it's like, what are you doing?
I still remember reading that. It was like I saw it like the day I was going to see that movie.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird. And we just love it. We think we're journalists in some ways. And it's like, you're not. You're not that interesting. Actually, people are going to dislike you.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't share any spoilers on this one.
No.
No
the
spoilers.
The film cast includes 3 Oscar winners. Can you name any of the Oscar winners? And 3 Oscar winners and 4 nominees.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Didn't Kirsten Dunst just win? Or I know she was nominated for her recent film. What was it? Power of the Dog. J.K. Simmons, Oscar winner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. I mean, Tobey Maguire ain't winning the Oscars for anything in nominations. What is it? Is Aunt May one of them?
Yes.
Aunt May, J.K. Simmons.
She's nominated. She's nominated.
She's nominated.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Rosemary Harris, by the way.
Rosemary Harris. Yes, Rosemary Harris. And no, I don't know. The only one I can think of is J.K. Simmons.
That's great.
Maybe. Wait. Okay.
Think old. Go old. Please go old.
Not Cliff Robertson.
Cliff Robertson was a winner.
Uncle Ben.
He was a winner.
Okay, so he is a winner. And then we have, this is literally her film debut.
Come on, you got it.
What is her name?
Describe her.
Black lady. Did she have an Oscar?
I need a little bit more.
Black lady, a little bit heavier. So she's literally the person that checks him in.
Yes, Octavia Spencer.
Before he goes to Octavia. Yes. I was gonna say like Olivia. Octavia Spencer gets her debut as like the check-in lady when Tobey Maguire goes to wrestle. Okay, yes.
The
nominees, I don't know.
So the nominees are Kristen Dunst. You were right about that. Okay. Willem Dafoe. Rosemary Harris and James Franco.
Oh, right. For whatchamacallit, The Room. What is it?
What is it? Disaster Artist, I believe.
The Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
That book was incredible.
I have it.
Incredible book.
I love watching The Room. I don't know if I have the balls to really do a review on it.
Yeah.
I might, because it's notably a bad movie, but the pop culture phenomenon around it, I love it. In that regard.
Bro, I used to make people like, this is how I determine if we were going to be friends. I'd have people I met come over and be like, oh, we're going to, come over. We'll have we'll order some pizzas. We'll get some wings and stuff. We'll have like a little movie day. And then I'll show them The Room and see what the hell they think. If they mess with The Room, then we can start to get into some conversations. I even hosted a Room. Bro, I hosted a Room screening in Baltimore years ago, before The Disaster Artist, and then a Disaster Artist screening too. I love that film.
I went to one screening where they had all of the gimmicks in there, where they give you spoons and
spoons, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think I have the shirt because they gave us like these T-shirts that look like tuxedos, where they're just throwing the football around. We may have been at the
How many years ago was this, bro?
This was probably 2 years before Disaster Artist came out. We may have been at the same thing.
Wow. Small world. Well, I went to the Charles. It was at the Charles?
It was the same thing. Yeah. We were there at the same time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. We'll get back to it, but because James Franco is a little troublesome right now. Yeah. He's a little problematic, but okay, he is nominated. Yep.
Jim Norton, comedian. He improvised the line, "He stinks and I don't like him."
Yes, when they're doing the like montage of how New Yorkers feel about Spider-Man. Yeah.
That is something that I say in real life too. You can ask the girl face, she'll say, like, "I love when you say he stinks." She was like, it's such an anachronistic and kind of PG thing to say, but also
it's powerful though. But is it? Yeah, I'm like, I would rather be called something else than tell somebody say that I stink they don't like me. Like, damn, what did I do?
Peter Parker does not take on the identity of Spider-Man until 54 minutes into the film, so about halfway through.
They really build out that origin story for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It took 30 minutes and 3 people to get Dafoe into the Green Goblin suit. If Tobey Maguire, if he ever had to go to the bathroom, it was about a 30-minute process to get out of the Spider-Man suit. So these suits were not great.
30 minutes? I thought maybe they just zipped him down the back like a onesie or something.
You would think so, right? Like, how much Vaseline was involved?
There must have been padding and Vaseline and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
I'm too fat for these costumes,
Movie
right?
Magic. Yeah, that thing is not forgiven. That Spider-Man, that's always been the case. I'm like, so nah, man, if I had like a quarter pounder or something that day, like it's showing up in the suit. It's showing up.
When you have a chance, you should listen to the RoboCop review that I did with my man Dom Griffin. And we were talking about like Peter Weller lost in that RoboCop suit. He lost 3 pounds of sweat every day.
So you're just sweating it out.
Yeah, because fucking suit is not on point.
That suit too was like hugging my man, like suffocating. And you can see it when you watch that. I'm like, oof.
You can see his religion. It's like, sir,
right.
The trace scene in the cafeteria where Peter Parker catches all of the food was not done digitally.
Goated. That is practical. I didn't know that.
The last shot of the film with Spider-Man swinging through the city was the most time-consuming shot of the entire film. Completely CGI. Execution on it began when production began. And it was the very last shot completed for the film. It took 18 months to create that shot. To your point about the CGI being the most expensive part.
Oh my God. I can't imagine. Like, think of what we have now with technology and video games and stuff. But you know what? Having just rewatched this and like the way that film ends and having that kind of like Sam Raimi's out of control, but that ending is powerful. Like he needed that.
Yeah.
You need that to end that movie. And then just to have the excitement hyped up for Spider-Man 2, like ending on something like that. Yeah.
Did you ever see what is it, Ex Machina?
Yes, I love that. Alex Garland, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
me and my girl, that was one of the early points of contention when it comes to movies. I really like that movie. She's not a huge fan of it. She was like, yeah, they kind of like focused a little bit too. Like I feel like the director of photography was like in love with the actress. I was like, no, because they put a lot of work into making her look like a car.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why it was all this like view on that. And I think it's the same thing. Like we're gonna get these grandiose Spider-Man swinging through the city, maybe in subsequent movies, because it was like, yeah, we worked hard to make this work. It's the T-Rex in Jurassic Park.
Right. They're creating a new standard. Yeah. That's some like James Cameron shit right there with that swing scene. Cause you never, as a kid, I was like, I'm actually seeing Spider-Man swinging through what looks like a real New York City. Like this is out of control,
This was the first film to gross $100 million in its opening weekend alone. At the time, no movie had done so, even with adjustment for inflation. Some points on this one. This was the first Marvel movie to showcase the flipping pages Marvel logo.
Oh shit! That was exciting. Yeah, yeah. When that song comes in, bro, I'm telling you, I still remember all of it.
It's certain movies that when you see, because I think I told you about the rule I have, because I pay more attention to the different companies that are involved, and I feel like if it's too many, you got to look for like one. If I don't know any of these production companies and you're listed in the beginning, you're mid. The movie's mid. But I pay more attention to that stuff now because in part of Marvel. It's like, now where it's at when you see like, oh snap, and they do little weird things with it. Like, speaking of Spider-Man, I believe in what is it? Maybe Moon Knight. In the logo, and you see all of the clips. Spider-Man is not in it anymore. They took it out because no one knows who Spider-Man is.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. I think you actually may have mentioned that to me. Yeah. Oh, wow.
That's really cool to me. Released in 2002.
They have fun with it. You
got to be nerds, and I mean, people get caught in some of the factory kind of we have a way that we do things, and that's a conversation for a different time. But it's just like, look, do you like the thing or do you not? Like, really, what do you want? That's where's yours? That's the other thing. Like, did you make one?
No, exactly. It's like, well, what would you do? It's funny because speaking of like that intro to it, Sam Raimi has these crazy long opening credits for these movies.
Yes.
Like, I don't even remember how long it is, and it also doesn't the opening credits kind of like flash like scenes from the film, so it almost like spoils parts of the film, like in the opening.
It's like, what are you doing, Sam?
Yeah, he was like on some. I guess I could see they're like trying to do that whole like comic book thing, but rewatching, I was like, bro, like spoilers, come on, man.
It's almost like when you're watching this. You've probably done this. When you're watching like a cartoon or something, and you're like, yo, that scene never happened. You're looking for that stuff like in the intros, like that never happened. Right. The turtles didn't meet, Osaka Ujimba, until like season 2 or 3. Like, what are we doing? Why is he here?
No, all of that. The X-Men show. Yeah, no, you're right.
This was released the year of Spider-Man's 40th anniversary in 2002. The scenes of New Yorkers throwing trash at the Green Goblin and Spider-Man perched alongside the American flag were added after 9/11 to reflect the city's sense of unity and patriotism. There's a few instances where I was like, it's a little too much flag in here for me.
It was very patriotic, bro. I mean, the timing of it, I remember, I have family members here and everything, and I still remember that. But do you remember the first like advertisements and promos for this? They had him kind of making a web in between the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And they had to remove all of that, and that had to be taken out of it just because in 18 months for that last scene, so much of this was already in progress, They had to digitally, I think, remove the Twin Towers from his reflection at one point when he's looking through the lenses. Yeah, he would like look through the eyes. Yep, yeah.
One of the chief difficulties that Tobey Maguire experienced in the now famous upside down kissing scene. You've heard about this now?
Maybe.
He had
I know the scene, obviously.
his sinuses kept filling up with water because it was
Ew.
performed in driving rain, so you couldn't breathe.
Oh my God. So he
So
was
he
like drowning.
almost died, hanging upside down.
That was a lot. There's so much rain in that scene. Like, okay, maybe I know what they were trying to do. There's a few things that they're highlighting here. But yeah, that scene is a little intense with the rain. I'm like, damn, bro.
I
It didn't have to be like that.
I don't know if you're like me, but if my socks get wet, I'm angry.
That's it.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm calling
happy.
it quits. I'm losing. And at this point, being an adult, like I will go into a store, I will buy all new clothes and just be like, I'm trashing this. I need new everything. I can't just be walking around like this.
Since you're in New York or what have you, I feel like
Yeah.
you just go around looking for like Mars Blackman. It's like, yo, you still selling socks? Like, what are you what are you doing here, bro? Can I get
Bro,
those?
that shit is real, man. I went over to see a family member the other day and they were like, "Oh, I got something for you." And I was like, "Oh, you didn't have to get anything." It was it was like a 10 pack of those socks. And I'm like, "All right, I know where you got this. I respect it. This is a throwback. Thank you."
I mean,
But those are not the legit socks you want to be walking around in, especially not if it starts raining.
no. I got to get Stance socks, human made, something like that. This is where I'm at now. I spend $26 on a pair of socks. This is where I go.
Hey, comfort is king, right?
Yeah. By signing on for 2 sequels. Now this is like quarterback adjusted money right here. Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire secured himself a paycheck of $26 million. So for the 2 sequels, 26 milli.
And so is that including what he got paid for this one or just to do the extra 2? Just to
I think
do 2 and 3?
I think to do I think it's for the next 2.
Okay. Wow.
That's still not a lot of money compared to like Robert Downey Jr. getting them stacking tends to be an extra
Bro, didn't they just pay like The Rock or something $20 million to be in a god awful Netflix movie? Like people were getting paid. I guess he was younger, but he had, he was kind of doing his thing.
And it's not
Hollywood.
where it's at now, too.
But no, yeah, it's a lot different. I guess that was probably exciting at the time, but Tobey Maguire he became more like I don't know. I don't know the man, but I've heard that he's difficult. I've heard that he's a difficult person.
I can see that. I can see that.
So that's interesting. He gets very like angry. He hates paparazzi. He hates like people messing with him.
It'd be great.
You haven't seen those memes? He threatens to beat people up, bro.
Like, yo, Spider-Man's about to kick your ass, son.
No, yeah, Toby don't play that. He don't play. I was surprised that they got him back.
It's like him and Ed Norton to me, and maybe it's just because I'm a black man. They just seem like, I don't feel threatened by you in any way, shape, or form, but they're apparently like dickheads on like set or they're just difficult.
Yeah. No, I've heard. So Ed Norton, perfect comparison. He is apparently very similar to that. I don't know if he's as much of a diva on set as Edward Norton is alleged to be, but I've seen the damn memes where he's literally like smacking cameras out of people's hands and yelling. The glares that he gives some of these paparazzis, like it's iconic, man.
It's great.
And you're like Toby, like literally the dorkiest looking dude. No, he's a badass. He's low key a hothead.
So we're winding through a lot of the trivia. So the Green Goblin was chosen as the film's main villain since Sam Raimi felt the father-son theme of Norman and Harry Osborn and Peter Parker would make the film deeper, emotional, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons why Sam Raimi was a popular choice with Sony was for the director's gig was because he was an avid comic book collector in his private life with a collection of over 25,000 comics.
25,000.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, this is the thing I was talking about earlier. Willem Dafoe only has around 18 minutes of screen time as both Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin.
They tricked my ass then. 18 minutes? How long is this movie?
It's almost like 2 hours. It's
2 hours? 2 hours and 1 minute.
He's there for like an arc. He's like, hey, guys.
I guess there's like you're right though, because you get him in the beginning, then he goes, you get those like short clips, him in the boardroom, him doing getting the Goblin formula or whatever the hell he gets, him choking out his homie. Like, it's all these short little vignettes of what he's doing. And because we don't get Peter as Spider-Man until halfway through the film, that makes sense, because you get you get the Macy Gray parade scene, and then he picks him up, and then at the end when they're scrapping. Yeah.
This movie felt really throwback upon recent watching because it didn't fit that normal mold for what we're expecting from a comic book movie these days.
Yeah.
It felt more of like a sci-fi movie, something that you would see like on a creature feature kind of situation in the 80s.
Right.
Because of the way they kind of did it, is this slow boil up to him getting into the costume, and people have aped it since. But they've kind of leaned away from the sci-fi, from this person is changing sort of thing. And I thought in some regards, it's not the same. It's not body horror, but I thought in some regards, and maybe it's because you're on here, The Fly in some ways. It's like, oh, when are we going to get to the thing? When are we going to get to the transformation?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think Sam Raimi getting this role over a few of the other directors like really speaks to that. You know, he came from this indie background, just out in the woods with his friends. That's why Bruce Campbell shows up in everything, because that was his homie. And like when they're making Evil Dead and all these films, it's just he's so resourceful and kind of is likes these kind of weird arcs and plays on his main characters. Did you hear that James Cameron was in the running for this?
I think I heard about that.
There was going to be like a James Cameron version. I can't imagine what it would have been, but I see the challenge for him because, you know, with Avatar, like he likes pushing the envelope, and this was definitely a challenge. I'm still amazed that Sam Raimi got this job to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, who are you again?
Right.
So when James Franco joked about Tobey Maguire's frog-like features on set, the latter reportedly was genuinely upset by Franco's comments. Tobey was going to put the work on this dude.
Tobey doesn't play that shit.
This created friction between the two actors, which led to the then existing rivalry between them. The rivalry actually still is happening. It's still in play. They still don't like each other. The rivalry was admitted to by Maguire in interviews since the Spider-Man franchise.
You know what? I knew that they didn't like each other. I didn't know that fact, but it just makes so much sense to me. And like James Franco stuff aside, I just don't see them vibing with each other at all. So that's interesting. I guess it played into the filmmaking, you know, as the series goes on.
Before Willem Dafoe received the role of Green Goblin, Nick Cage, John Malkovich, Bill Paxton, Mel Gibson, John Travolta, Brad Dourif, and Robert De Niro were offered the role. The role was originally intended to be played by Billy Crudup, who even dropped out of other projects to act in the film, but he was considered too young to play the plot of Norman Osborn and was declined for the role. Many of the actors, including De Niro, Gibson, and Travolta, turned down the role. De Niro was also considered for Otto Octavius in the sequel. The final actor in line to play Norman Osborn was Bill Paxton, but Raimi was finally convinced that Dafoe was right for the part after a few meetings. Paxton's father still appears in the film as Norman's elderly butler, Bernard. Nick Cage would go on to voice Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse. Okay. That's very interesting to me. I mean, again, with Raimi and kind of being this kind of offbeat character and the way that he makes, I totally see Dafoe being the choice for him once he finally meets him, right? Yeah. Like some of these guys sound good on paper, and Robert De Niro was not doing whimsical or silly stuff like this in the early 2000s yet. Like that's like current Robert De Niro. Maybe you could get him to be in one of these. But no, I think they went with the right choice. And Billy Crudup is a great actor, but he still looks pretty young. Like I think he would have been way too young looking. He's like a handsome dude. Yeah,
I dig it. And
didn't they get him to play Flash's dad in Justice League? Yeah.
He sounds about right. Yeah. I want to take one look at something real quick because I think De Niro was in something in 2002 that fits this kind of mold. Ah,
Not the one movie, Stardust. Not that, right?
oh no, that was like
That's later.
2000. That was a little
Yeah.
later. That was 2007. He was Captain
Mhm.
Shakespeare.
Right.
He was in Showtime.
Oh,
And this is the and analyze that, by the way. But
okay.
here's the interesting thing he was in that year, 2002. He was in City by the Sea with James Franco.
Wow.
I'm gonna play your father in both of these.
He was, yeah. Okay. Damn, I feel old, man, because I still remember seeing these trailers and stuff.
uh,
Oh my God.
Frankie Muniz, Jude Law, and Topher
Frankie
Grace were
Muniz.
considered for the role of Peter Parker, and Grace would later appear as
Stop
Venom,
playing with me.
which was not a good
Frankie
choice.
Muniz as Peter Parker.
Stop.
Okay, I'm about to be very out of pocket right now.
He
I
would have been
love Frankie
17, by the way.
Muniz. Malcolm in the Middle. We have so much that came from that, and also he played it very smart with his money. Like apparently, Frankie Muniz like was about his business, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got Big Fat Liar. He got all his different roles. Frankie Muniz has a very, very big head, and I'm not trying to like body shame or anything. But can you imagine Frankie Muniz with the Spider-Man
That kiss is not
mask
happening
over
the same.
his head? But like that does not work for me. They were gonna get him nice and buff. That's why sometimes these executives like they just don't know what they're doing.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna throw this out there to you real quick. Also, Frankie Muniz is 5'5".
Right. Frankie Muniz, if you're listening, I love you, man. No disrespect. You're not Peter Parker. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. I understand CGI, right? They weren't using it like
Yeah.
that then, but I don't know if you've seen the trailer for the She-Hulk.
I was hoping that we were going to talk about this. Please.
Looks terrible, and
Yeah.
I think part of it is, and I said this when the casting happened, I don't see Tatiana as being like a tall like person, and She-Hulk
Right.
is like a Megan Thee Stallion type like build.
Right.
So it's like
Yeah, no.
you're a smaller person. Like I don't see it.
Yeah, and you know, I know that people loved her in her different role. What
Like
was
Orphan
she?
Black, I
It's
think.
Orphan Black, and she played all these different roles and stuff. And I understand the comedic beats because that's a very comedic character.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think that they just had to do so much with CG that even looking at the trailer, the difference between Mark Ruffalo's Professor Hulk
Yeah.
and She-Hulk, I'm like, we're looking at two different eras of filmmaking. I'm looking at like Avengers, Russo brothers Hulk paired with like Ang Lee's Hulk from the early 2000s. And people are like, oh, they're going to touch up the CG, the trailers and everything. There is not that much time left for that show. It comes out in August. They probably working those people around the clock under brutal conditions if they think they're going to get that show looking right. Look, no disrespect. It'll probably be great. I'll probably love it. But when I watch that thing and they're
It was like
they have that
Professor
scene.
Hulk and animated Hulk from like Fox
Right.
Kids.
It's crazy. There, that one part where they're like, "Oh, your ass looks great," and she does her little like turn.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god!" Like my PS3 looked better than this like years and years ago. Like it's the uncanny valley. I
Can't
can't
do it.
It's just too distracting. I hope they get it figured out. Kevin Feige, Disney, everybody, I hope you get it figured out. And I'm sure it'll be funny. Like it looks funny, but that is going to distract me. No question. I'm going to be distracted by that.
I think they've gotten lazy a little bit. I didn't particularly enjoy Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And CGI was a part of it. It's just like you have a full CGI character and you don't have the budget of Avengers to actually invest in that. And you could still do those things, but it doesn't work as well. It's just have a dude in a suit. I don't get it.
It seems like the budgets are getting smaller, and maybe it's because the frequency is picking up. Like we used to have like 1 to 2 Marvel movies, then we got 3. Now it's like 4 Marvel movies and like 7 shows a year. And they're just doing a lot right now. Like Moon Knight, I enjoyed the story and kind of like where they went with it, but the CG did pull me out quite a bit.
Yeah.
With the character, and like they didn't use it, and I think a lot of that was like not just story driven but like like budget and time driven.
Mhm.
And so I'm a little concerned about She-Hulk and whatever. I mean, she's a funny character. I'm sure a lot of it will just be like quips and jokes and stuff, but if you have someone who's talking and like I'm supposed to be like following what's going on, I just can't have the character looking
Yeah.
like that.
And I think
know?
when there's an attempt to, how can I put it, where if you need to rely on it in such a way, like I think they get rids, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
the CGI for Spider-Man's current suits don't look bad. For Iron Man
Yeah.
suits doesn't look bad. But when you get to some of these other colors, I don't think they figured out white as a CGI thing yet. And
No.
I think the lighter colors, it just doesn't quite work. And that's just something that, again, the Uncanny Valley. Once you see these things, I remember I had a film class in high school, and someone pointed something out, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, you
I
can't
think I was
unsee it.
watching maybe Hannibal or something, and it was like
Mm,
it was something then, and I was like, oh damn it! Now this is just ruined for me. Now my eyes always go to that doesn't
Right.
match.
right.
So here's the last piece of casting stuff. No, actually two pieces. Joe Manganiello.
Yes.
a werewolf.
Manganiello.
Yeah.
Manganiello.
Yeah. He's got a lot of pizza to come up with that when I get it.
Manganiello. Yeah, it's just part of me now.
He was offered $100 to punch Tobey Maguire on the scenes.
$100. Wow.
Like slap this dude in his face, which
Big
is
money.
which is worth 160 in today's dollars. Inflation.
Love it.
Arlie Emery, Christopher Lloyd, and Dennis Farina were considered for the role of J. Jonah Jameson before J.K. Simmons was cast.
Wow. That's not as bothersome to me. I love JK. He's great. And like that role has kind of gone on to spawn like all of his, not all, I'm not going to be disrespectful, but so many of his roles following that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a multiverse, like basically J. Jonah, JK as J. Jonah is like all these different people in these different realities.
I want the Spider-Man.
Right. Give me more pictures of Spider-Man. But no, he's iconic. He's so good. I mean, I think he's probably the most like comics accurate person in the film, probably.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they even kind of get away with, they don't really do the Hitler stash because that's what that character has. And they make a shift that works that's not annoying. And it's like, that wasn't going to work for the long term. So that's pretty much the main things I had for casting. So I want to get into observations / questions, and then we can talk about what works and what doesn't work. And, we can wrap up from there. So, any observations that come to mind, feel free to throw them in. But I had my first one. Toby is roughly 7 years older than the age of his character. What's a teenager? Is this anime? Is a question that I had. Which is why they would have cast Frankie.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at that scene where they all go on the field trip. Mm-hmm. They all look like grown ass, like not even college students, but
especially
like
Joe.
in their 20s, like literally they should be out looking for jobs, not going on field trips, and then being scolded by the teacher for like making too much noise. If I saw a grown ass man, I'd be like, what are you doing, bro? Like, get out of here. Everybody looks so old in that movie. I mean, I think even as a kid, I was like, all right, I'm only a few years away from being in high school. I know high schoolers are not looking like this.
Then your beard started growing. I was like, oh, well.
Potentially, maybe. Yeah, that was a little, I mean, honestly, 7 years is not, I thought it was more. I thought he was older.
Because I think he's about, I think he's 26 or something like that. And it's like, all right.
They always did that shit, man. Like they're just now trying to cast like age accurate people. And then they're like 2, 3, 4 years older.
Yeah. And I think some instances it works. Like I think Kirsten Dunst was the only one that was kind of close. I think she may have been 20.
Oh, that's interesting.
But like everyone else is like mid something. So this is a question I have. Is
Yeah.
Spider-Man akin to the Dark Knight trilogy in that the first movie is really good, the second movie is better than the first one, and the third one just kind of misses the mark, just kind of falls off a cliff a little bit?
I would agree. I mean, Batman Begins made me excited, and you're like, okay, they didn't screw that up, and it felt good. It felt kind of like realistic, whatever that means. Spider-Man 1 gives me the same feelings, even as like hokey and like cheesy as some of these things, and a lot of it is intentional. But
Intentionally
like
saccharine.
Spider-Man, yeah, like Spider-Man 2, Dark Knight, like those are crazy. Those films stick with you. Those action scenes stick with you. All of it does. I'm not really rewatching The Dark Knight Rises. I'm not really watching Spider-Man 3 unless I want to like laugh, you know? So, and there's reasons for that. They just went too far, you know, that studio interference. I think always once you have two films like that back to back that are just hitting and the audiences want more, I think they just jumped the gun a little bit with both of those series.
And I think the degree of difficulty, and I know that big bad Nolan, you can't say anything that's not always,
Right.
you know, DR, because, you know, DR is an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
But I believe the degree of difficulty for Spider-Man, both Spider-Man and Batman have really good rogues galleries. However, when I think of Spider-Man's polar opposite is his nemesis, and, you know, use your comic hat on this one, who comes to mind for you?
Venom.
So that's the only shift. Whereas Batman, you had it baked in that, yo, we got Joker. This is going to be fire. And it's like somehow they made Otto Octavius kind of a corny character. Like, oh, you work. And then when they tried to pull that trigger and do Venom late, because I think just CGI wise, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, this is garbage, actually.
Yeah. And he didn't want to do it. I mean, it's Sam Raimi fought the studio on that. He did not want Venom in that movie, and they made him do it. That's why he stopped making comic book movies.
And I definitely think that Topher Grace wore the Willem Dafoe teeth later in that movie because he had like the weird fangs.
Ew. Yeah, his like smile, his like half between Venom and Topher's smile. Ugh.
In the 20 years since, which Spider-Man villain are you desperately looking to see on the big screen that you haven't seen so far? Or haven't seen done right? Because I think the Lizard comes to mind for me if haven't seen done right.
The Lizard has not been done right. Electro, they kind of were trying to fix it, I guess, with the newer one.
They tried that 3 different times. No, the Shocker was the other guy. Yeah, Shocker.
The Shocker. Honestly, it's probably Venom. I don't think that they've done Venom correctly. I know people love those Venom movies for what they are. I hate them. And Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage with Woody Harrelson as Carnage. One of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. That film, when you have two of the scariest and these villains are, if you go back to those old Spider-Man comics, like Spider-Man plays around, you know, he's quipping, he's making jokes and shit. Venom and Carnage beat the shit out of my guy. Like, he is not making that many quips when he's fighting these two.
Also, the movie should have been rated R, to be honest with you.
It should have been.
Kill people.
Yeah, Carnage is a serial killer. I mean, I understand. I will give them the benefit that I understood what they were trying to do, but I think that like it just hasn't been done right, and I don't think that it will be.
No.
We have little hints at maybe at some point Marvel, but like it's still under Sony's control, and like we see what they've done with this character. You know,
I think the other thing that kind of gets, because I have the book in here, I have the trade in here.
Yeah,
that Let There Be Carnage was an attempt at Maximum Carnage, which
I have that book on my bookshelf. Yeah, it's. I don't know what they were trying to do, man. So I don't know. I think Venom or Carnage. But for what would your villain be just besides Lizard?
One that I really want to see, and I think they're doing it in a different way. I want to see Kraven the Hunter, and I know that they're doing like a movie for that. And you know, again, I know nothing, right? However, you know, what I wanted to see was him Craven be introduced in Wakanda somehow. Of
That would
like
be great.
this
Yeah.
white dude is coming in here trying to like poach our shit. And then it's like Spider-Man team up because that's all we do at this point.
Right.
And I was like,
You gotta
that's the
pair
way you,
somebody with, yeah.
and it's like, oh, you're the actual game that I'm hunting. That would
Right.
be a dope angle. They're not going to do that, but that's the way I would like to see that work out. And the notion of you can do like what Sergei's Last Hunt, that could be fire.
Yeah. That would be a good one. Craven doesn't get the respect he deserves. And I guess they have to figure out a way to like show his skill and like everything that he can do on screen. But the weird thing that I heard, aren't they taking isn't that character supposed to be played by Aaron Taylor Johnson?
It is, yeah.
Who was Quicksilver?
And Kick-Ass.
And Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh. It's like, do you have
They've
muscle?
done that. Yeah, no, he's buff now. I saw he was in Tenet. I mean, it's fine, but I think that especially now that we're in the whole multiverse world, it's like, all right, now I'm starting to get confused.
I'm thinking it's from the perspective of casting this. Like, have you done those HGH or whatever that we can just put muscle on you? You're now a superhero again. And
just
it's like
you up.
You've been in multiple things, dude. And it's just like, are we just we get the notion of more than one chance. We've had Chris Evans, we've had Michael B. Jordan, we've had Ryan Reynolds all play multiple heroes, and that first one was a mulligan to a degree.
Yeah.
To a degree, maybe the jury's still out, but well, not really. To a degree, Ben Affleck, I think he was a fine Batman. He was a terrible Daredevil.
Yeah, agreed.
And, I think like, all right, you were great. You did Kick-Ass, and that's not a Marvel property. I get it. But also you were Quicksilver, and you were cool as Quicksilver. You got blicked off, though.
Yeah, they did him dirty, but like the character was fine. The power set was fine. I think it was just because they were going up against Quicksilver from Days of Future Past, and oh Lord, Marvel. Because now we're getting in all, Wanda and all this stuff, We're
doing our own multiverse right here.
Multiverse reviews.
So where does this movie fit in the last 20 years worth of Spider-Man movies? Because we've had how many Spider-Man movies in the last 20 years?
Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, Amazing 1, 2. You got Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got 3.
So it's like 8.
Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Can I do math? That's like 8 or 9. And then he's in all these he's featured in like all these other movies too. So about like 9 Spider-Man like straight movies. And then he's probably featured in another like, what is that? Like 4 movies?
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 movies.
Both the Avengers movies, Civil War.
Yeah. Civil War. Where does this rank for me?
Yeah, like where does that fit in it? Because this is probably above, just off rip, probably above both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Oh, without a doubt. I love Andrew Garfield. Everyone loves Andrew Garfield. I think that suit was the best suit we got until our newest version that we got a quick glimpse of with Tom Holland. Those movies had so much potential, and they just messed it all up. So this movie, all of these rank above those, I think. And then honestly, I know this is a little controversial. I like this Spider-Man movie probably more than the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
Oh, Spider-Man and Iron Man.
Yeah, I kind of like. Yeah, I don't really I love the Vulture. Like, I like elements of that movie, but I think as a full package, this movie does something more for me. I like Far From Home a little bit. No Way Home. Jury's still out for me.
It was a
No
little
Way
long.
Home, honestly. It was a little bit. It was a little bit much. So this is like up there on the list. I'd say it's probably like definitely like top 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go very similar to that. I think you're spot on. I think probably Spider-Verse is my number 2, maybe number 3. Spider-Man 2 is up there. I liked Far From Home a lot more than people, because people were like, oh, that was a bad movie. I was like, no. It
No.
wasn't.
Yeah. I like Far From Home. Yeah.
Yeah. And just the only thing I didn't like is they had the trailer and it was like, Peter, you don't want no parts of this. And I was like, this is not in the movie though. I was like, I really wanted that to be
Oh,
in the movie
yeah.
because I
Doing
marked
this stuff.
out.
Yeah.
I was like, what
No,
the hell?
you're right on that. And Far From Home did something really cool, which is they gave us that scene when Peter's kind of like all the Mysterio stuff. And like, these are things that are ripped directly from the comic page panels of like him tripping out or thinking he's seeing stuff and bumping in. Like, I think that's honestly like one of the best sequences that we've gotten for a Spider-Man property ever is like that little scene where he's dealing with Mysterio's illusions. And that's really cool. That was really cool to see on screen. Spider-Man 2, I think Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Verse go kind of like they go back and forth between 1 and 2 for me. And then it's like Far From Home and then this one. And then the rest kind of like fall into place. Yeah.
I think the only thing that was missing from that sequence that you're describing, and it also set up some of the stuff that we got in Doctor Strange 2, some of the kind of zombie stuff, some of the some of that imagery.
Yeah.
If he would have said with the famous line from the animated series of "Enough with your politics, Mysterio," that would have been great. That would have been great. Just my girl loves that line, and she was like, I was waiting for it, and then he didn't say it. She was like, I was so tight about it, but also I got Mysterio, and she loves Jake Gyllenhaal, so she was like, this works for me.
I'm a Jake stan. I like Jake Gyllenhaal, so I thought he was good as Mysterio. I thought the scenes were good, the action was good. Yeah, that was a good one. They should have put that line. I know you're right.
So 2 other things in these observations I want to throw out there. One of them you're not going to like because it ties to movies that you don't like. So in the first Venom movie, I quote this line a lot.
More tolerable than the second.
Yes,
in my opinion.
Except for that last sequence when they just look like when they're fighting, they just look like just a morph of nonsense.
Yes.
When the villain decides he has a bad name. It's a bad name.
It's like wreckage or something. What the hell is his name again? It's something.
Now you're gonna make me look this up.
I'm gonna look it up.
I gotta look it up.
Okay.
His name is Colton Drake, which is a bad name. I believe his name is Riot.
Riot. Yeah, I was like, it's something dumb. Like, okay.
But the character name is bad. Colton Drake.
Colton Drake. I'm gonna name my child Colton Drake.
So there's a point when they're like this thing is unstable, and he's like, human trials, and he says that in the movie, and essentially. Norman Osborn says the same thing when he injects himself with the fucking. And I was like, "Look, can we just stop with
a throwback?" Nah, human trials always.
And this is the last thing. And I want to know if you noticed this. Don't tell Harry is said a couple of times by both MJ and Norman to Peter.
Oh, yes,
I thought that was interesting. Maybe I'm reading more into it.
No, you're absolutely not. He's like not emotionally. Harry was always going to become this guy. And I know we got kind of James Franco, so he was like a handsome dude at the time. They give Harry like big, like simp energy. Like Harry's got like incel energy about him, bro. Because everyone just thinks that he is like not emotionally like capable of handling things, not smart enough, not like interesting enough. Norman does him so dirty and like is so obviously in love with Peter. Like, y'all were making this guy a villain without even, trying. But like the don't tell Harry, then he dies. And then don't tell Harry with like, yeah. I'm not a Harry Osborn sympathizer, but yeah, nobody gave this man respect at all. No. Nobody respected him until he died.
Yeah, and this is why he's carrying around a blade, trying to be the Goblin, and is like it didn't work.
Right.
Also, so here's what works and what doesn't work. And again, feel free to chime in. What doesn't work? Goblin's costume. I needed some purple, and they kind of fixed that.
Yeah.
And like I'm looking for the TV like. It didn't need to be armor. It could have just been a rubber mask of him just getting loose on the freaking hoverboard.
Yeah.
This is funny, and I think they echo it in. I think they echo this acting style in No Way Home.
Mhm.
Peter's acting when Uncle Ben dies is atrocious.
That cry face, man.
His ugly
Is out of
cry.
control. You know who had the best Uncle Ben death is Andrew Garfield,
Really?
and nobody likes those movies. I thought it was like they did the same exact thing, but like his acting, I thought was pretty good when what was it, Martin Sheen? Yeah, his version of Uncle Ben died.
Martin
He was
Sheen.
kind of like going through it, bro. He was going through some stuff.
The final fight works. I think that goes really well. His Spider-Man is not good at his job yet. He's supposed to be outmatched. He's
Bro,
getting his
them
ass beat.
hits, those punches, my man was getting sock'em bopped. He was getting thrown all over that the ruins or wherever they were fighting, man. Like, and then some of the slow-mo punching and then seeing the blood and everything come out. Yeah, Spider-Man was getting rocked. He was getting rocked.
He punched part
Without
of his
a
mask
doubt.
off, and it was so funny to me.
Yeah. That was honestly my favorite part of No Way Home is when Goblin beat the shit out of Tom Holland and was like, he was like pile driving my man through like apartment buildings and stuff. I was like, okay, this is what I want to see. Like, you making too many mistakes, Peter. You need to be humbled. And that's exactly what he did to Toby.
Mm-hmm. There are references. This doesn't work. There are references to Eddie and to Dr. Connors that go nowhere. Like,
right,
we don't really get Dr. Connors. There's no lizard in these movies, and we get Eddie. And this is said by somebody at the Daily Bugle. We get Eddie 2 movies later. Well, the movie after this one.
right.
Well, after the movie after this one. The meme ability, as I said, really works. And you know, again, Willem Dafoe is a number 1A, and this is why I think he worked so well in coming back and adding something a little bit extra to bringing the Goblin back and then getting the visuals of the Goblin right as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree. He's my favorite part of the first movie and my favorite part of No Way Home.
Yeah, I mean, I marked out. I don't know anybody that hasn't when they are all spider suited up together on like the Statue of Liberty. I was like, okay, yeah, that's just arcing everywhere. Just give me the butter, you know. So here's the one fix: the rooftop scene is fucking weird. When
oh my god, that was what I was gonna say is my like weird. That was like my doesn't work for this movie. Like, remove that scene.
Because he's just like, it's like, I can see that that's Willem Dafoe, but the pantomiming in the suit makes it look like it's CGI, and it just doesn't work.
And isn't that one of the scenes where you really see like his mouth underneath the mask too, like his teeth and his talking? That scene is weird as hell. And it's another thing, like plot wise, I'm like, bro, what is going on here? Like, do something. You giving my man like a timetable to do this stuff. I don't know. That seems really odd.
And I think the other thing, it plays in this way that if he didn't know that Peter was Spider-Man, at least at that point, right? Yeah. He's framing it like he's trying to get his kid to come over to the dark side, and he was using Peter as a surrogate for Harry. So it's just like, is that just what you do? You hate your kid that much that anybody else that's another guy is like, look.
It was weird, man. It was like they had Peter or Spider-Man, whatever, on like Benadryl or something. And then I don't know what my man was talking about. But yeah, that's the one scene when I rewatched this. I was like, all right, I could do without this. We could have done something else.
He freaking blew up the Daily Bugle. It was just like,
just to come sit my man down, sleep. Like,
shit's great.
Man. That's some Willem Dafoe shit, though. He probably pitched that.
He's like, look, I got an idea. I had the spray tanks with me. He's like, I got the wardrobe, too.
Right.
All right, so here's my favorite scenes, and then we'll wrap on this. Final observation, then we'll wrap on this. So, favorite scenes. I got the bone saw scene. I really like that. I like seeing Macho Man pop up in there.
What's your name, kid?
The Human Spider.
The Human Spider, that's it? That's the best you got?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Bonesaw is ready.
Yeah. It works.
So good.
The cafeteria scene works. I like that a lot.
Wow. Great reflexes. Thanks.
No problem.
Hey, you have blue eyes. I didn't notice without your glasses. You just get contacts?
Mm-hmm.
Norman Osborn getting fired is probably the best scene in this movie because of Willem Dafoe's face acting. He goes through
Yeah.
every emotion.
All emotions known to man. At this point in our human history, he covered everything that we've done so far.
But you can't do this to me. I started this company. You know how much I sacrificed?
And lastly, it's going to be the fight scene between Goblin and Spidey to wrap the movie.
Spun your last web, Spider-Man. Had you not been so selfish, your little girlfriend's death would have been quick and painless. But now that you've really pissed me off, I'm gonna finish her nice and slow.
That works really well, as we've said before. Were there any just stick out for you?
Well, let's start with that fight scene. I mean, superheroes really don't get their asses whooped like that today. You know, the closest thing that I've seen to that is when my man Tony was squaring up with Thanos at the end of Infinity War, and he was punching the damn nano machines off of my man's face. Like, that is what I want to see sometimes, you know? Like, I think the fight scene is great. Just the way that he cuts out there's no music there. It's just so silent, and you just hearing these punches connect. Mm-hmm. That shit is good. The bone saw scene is great. We will acknowledge that there was some language that is not great in the bone saw scene, but for the most part, I think that like it's good, and it shows the comedy and like the name and everything, and like how dorky and weird this guy really is. That
the human spider.
The human spider. Like, no, you got a better name than that. Come on.
He's like, that's all you got, kid.
That's all you got, kid. That's one of the best Bruce Campbell cameos. So I'd say those two scenes are good. What else do I like? I don't really like much of what he does with Mary Jane. I think they kind of messed that character up a bit.
Yeah.
So not the boardroom. I do like the boardroom, but when Norman is doing his own human trials and experimenting on himself with his homeboy, that's always in his lackey. And it's just like that quick scream and cut when he opens his eyes and like grabs him he grabs him. I think that's great. And then he jumps onto his little hoverboard.
Back to formula.
I say those ones really stick out for me. And then a scene I really loved when I was a kid where I was like, all right, this is like kind of mid. But I guess it's just like based on the technology of the time, is where they're in the burning building and like Goblin has like the old lady thing over and then he's like pretending to be an old lady. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so like cheesy, but it just worked for me. So that one works. And then he throws all his little junts and Peter's like dodge. And I thought that was the coolest shot I've ever seen in my life when I was 12 years old. And maybe it could have been, but those are the ones for me.
I remember one of my buddies touring. He was like, "Man, just driving around. I got a bunch of like mini pumpkins in the back of my car." I was like, "The fuck are you, like Green Goblin and shit?" I was like, "You just throwing them at people."
Yes. Just tossing pumpkins. Ain't no thing.
So that's pretty much all I had. I guess we can wrap up on final thoughts and social media and all that good stuff. So I'll let you have it, man. Final thoughts. Where's this movie rank for you? When's the last time you saw it before watching it for this review?
You know what? I did a Spider-Man, the whole series. I did a rewatch before No Way Home. Mm-hmm. So that was the last time I saw it before the review. So fairly recently, it'd been years since then. And honestly, my ranking stayed the same. I love this movie for what it kind of like gave us. This character that I grew up loving and reading as a kid, like realized and given personality, and like the effects and everything was just on point. So it still ranks pretty high for me. Like I said, without this, we don't get Spider-Man 2. And I think Spider-Man 2 is just chef's kiss. Like, I just think that what they did with Peter and Otto and the action and everything about that movie is incredible. And like, you kind of see bits of that starting to shine through in Raimi's directing of this one. So yeah, I still love this movie quite a bit. Obviously not as much as 12-year-old Isaiah, but pretty close. Pretty close. It's still pretty good. Pretty good. What about you?
No, it's legit. Like I was able to watch. I ended up. It's been a while since I watched it. I ended up
Yeah.
watching it twice. I had it one on while I was taking notes, and
Hmm.
then I had it on just kind of in the background, not paying
Yeah.
attention to it. And it was just like just remembering something that I've seen a lot. I think the kind of that first half kind of drags to what I've been accustomed to with like superhero movies now, and
Right.
I think that's why. I made the comparison to a sci-fi movie. It's just like,
Hmm.
but I think this is longer than a sci-fi movie. So you're like, all
Right.
right, if you're trimming, let's say 20 minutes off, and this is like an hour and 40-minute movie, he's Spider-Man like at minute 30 versus minute 54. And
Yeah.
but this still is up there for me. This still ranks very high. It is the best first iteration of Spider-Man in a solo flick or kind of solo flick,
Right.
only followed by Homecoming.
Homecoming. Yeah.
Homecoming is fine, but it's really the Vulture's movie, which was probably going to be in that fourth Spider-Man movie. That no, they were going to make a different Vulture, which was stupid. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I like this movie, and I'm glad that we were able to talk about it.
Like I said earlier, man, I was so excited when you asked me to be on this one. Yeah, just because I have a lot of thoughts about it, and obviously a lot of different deep cuts or things that kind of ended up being related to the greater MCU as we now understand it. And it's crazy that it's expanded now because now all these movies are technically part of the MCU, right?
Mm-hmm.
With No Way Home. So yeah, it's a great one. It was good to see Toby come back. I bet Toby was out there laughing his ass off at the paycheck and the fact that James Franco was not welcome back into the franchise.
It's like, well, you are dead, so
You
you can go
know,
screw.
but it is what it is. At the end of the day, yeah, I still really enjoy this film quite a bit. And I there are rumors that they may bring Toby back for more, and I think I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with him kind of getting another run with maybe one of those characters that really didn't get it, and I'd be fine with, even though I think he's taking a break from acting,
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield actually getting a run with, like, let's just figure things out, because
He needs that more than Toby does, I
he
think.
does,
I
and
think he needs that more.
because they made him the emo Spider-Man, and it really didn't work.
Yeah.
And they gave him that little bit of that redemption in Far From No Way Home.
Yeah.
And I think really that was him, but also it's a character too, and it just melded really well together. And yeah. So where can folks find you at on social media?
People can find me on the socials. I'm on Instagram at Isaiah RW. So ISAIAHRW. You can also find me at my website, isaiahrw.com. And yeah, that's it. Not really working on too much crazy new stuff right now. Just, finishing up some projects and looking forward to some stuff coming down the pipeline soon here.
So there you have it, folks. Hope you enjoyed this review of 2002 Spider-Man I did today with the super talented and interesting photographer, just Renaissance man. Yeah, fan of Carhartt. I see you out here. Isaiah
Another
Winters.
Carhartt plug. Always sponsor me, you coward. Stop this already. I'm tired of it.
I'm Rob Lee, and this has been an episode of Let's Watch It Again, and keep watching those movies, folks.